Greetings, data analysis team. I thought that to communicate what I would like you to know as we start the data analysis, I could either write a really long email or I could try a screen recording, and I think this will be more efficient. The screen you're looking at is the team folder for analysis, and the file that we're going to look at is called UUAA Vision 2050 Data Analysis Tool. So let's open that up. This is a Google Sheet. Now I have my screen set to a pretty small resolution. You folks will probably, hopefully, have higher resolution than this. So you'll be able to see more cells. I'm just going to shrink it down for the moment. Makes it hard to read, but I just want to point out some things in this document. So when the spreadsheet opens, it should open to the first tab, and that has a table of the team assignments. The first column here is Alondria's 10 questions, 1 through 10. The next column is just a shortcut way of referring to those questions. The next column is the key questions that will be used to answer the related one of Alondria's 10 questions. So these will be the key questions that we have sticky note data for, and they are used to answer these questions. Next is who is assigned to answer that particular one of the 10 questions, and in this case Janet and Benisa are assigned to question number 1, and for that they will use key questions 1, 2, and 4. The next two columns are to track how we're doing in the process. We are currently working on this column, which is the December 8th run-through of our data analysis. And once you've completed your report for your question or questions, put a Y or a yes in that column. And that way we can see where we're at in the process. We will do another analysis around January 11th. Once all the data is in, that's when we will close the online version of the visioning session. The intention for this spreadsheet is that once you know which question you're answering, you and your partner or partners will have a tab down below that is for you to use in answering your question. So you'll see that I have E number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and if we use the scroll button here, we can see that it goes up to 10. Each of these tabs is related to one of Alondria's 10 questions. So I am currently, I am assigned to the 10 question number 4. So I will go to the E number 4 tab. And on that tab, this is pre-filtered to include only the data for the key questions that relate to question number 4. So you can see in the assignment, key questions 9, 4, and 5. I'm not sure why it's in that order, but 9, 4, and 5, this data set is limited to key questions 9, 4, and 5. You can see down here those questions listed. I'll talk about the filter in a moment. Each horizontal line represents the sticky notes for one headline for one question in one of the sessions. We don't have the session information here because that's not part of our analysis process. So the first column is the question number, the key question number. The next column is a headline. The next column is the number of dots. Let's zoom this in so it can be read. The number of dots that were assigned to that headline. And from there and to the right are all the sticky notes that were grouped together with that particular headline. The tabs start out filtered by question numbers, sorted by question number and by the number of dots. So the question numbers go low to high and the dots high to low. So the first column here below the header relates to question number 4. It's the headline that received 6 dots, and that's the most dots of any headline for question number 4. And then these are the sticky notes. They're also color-coded horizontally. Those colors are completely arbitrary, but I think it's more helpful to have them horizontally colored rather than individually by sticky note, It's, I think, much easier to read through them and understand the organization because these are sorted, all the ones in this horizontal row are attached to this headline. So by having them share a color, I think that's helpful. The colors are arbitrary, as I said, and they can be changed by you. If you want to come up with a color coding system that says, let's see, all the colors, all of the stickies having to do with diversity, we're going to color those red. You're more than welcome to make changes to the color coding. Notice that I went to this third row down. These are very light pastel colors. If you get into the more saturated colors, it starts to become pretty hard to read. So let's just Command Z or menu undo and get back to the original color. So as I said, these color codes are arbitrary and you're more than welcome to change them. Just to be aware that when you change them, they change for everybody. So you and your partner will have a tab to work on. Please only make changes on that tab and coordinate so that you understand what changes you're making and why. Of course, you can also change fonts, font colors. You can make outlines. There are many ways to set the data apart. So that's completely up to you and your partner. Now, one of the most useful things to do as you're trying to process this information is to try to find common words. So you can either find or find and replace. If you use the keyboard Command F, it brings up the find box. If you use the menu version or you use the Command Shift H, it will bring up the find and replace. So I'm going to use the keyboard Command F and search for justice. Now that is going to highlight, you can see the color change here, all the cells that have the word justice in them. And as you scroll down, there will be more of them down here. There's one. Notice the color difference. You can also tab between them and just jump from sticky note or headline to the next, looking at all of the notes that reference justice. You also see the number of times that word was used, a total of 39 times. Now, as I stated, the more cells that you can see, the better, so hopefully you have a higher resolution screen than what I'm using for this screen record, because there are anywhere from 20 or so on some of the smaller questions to over 200 in the larger ones. This one has 113 rows of sticky notes to go through. What else do we need to know? Okay, the filters. You'll notice beside each headline is a triangle of 3 lines. That is a filter. You can use that to sort, or the other most useful thing is these check marks here. If I uncheck these numbers, which represent the question number in this column, and click OK, now the only cells I'm seeing are related to question number 9. The other data is still there, it's just hidden. And just like changing colors, filter states affect everybody's view of the document because the document is shared, and they're persistent. So if there is a filter turned on when you leave the document, when you or somebody else comes back to the document, that filter will still be active. So you can see the difference. This looks like a funnel. It's a solid funnel shape. And that means there's an active filter in this column. The horizontal lines in the upside down pyramid means the filter is available, but it's not currently active. So we can filter this by, let's say, 2 dots. Now I'm going to look at all the question number 9 headlines that have 2 dots, and you can see there's only one of those. To clear the filter, click Select All and OK. Let's clear this filter, select All, and OK. The filters are less useful on the sticky notes because each sticky note is going to be an independent item. So you can hide rows that have certain sticky notes in them. That's probably not a very useful thing to do. So we'll select all. Okay, all the filters are cleared. I think that's just about everything I wanted to share about working with the spreadsheet and the interface for Google Sheets. That's the data analysis tool. That's where you will find your data. So what about the task that you're actually undertaking, or the output of this task? That will be put into this document here, the 2019-1208 Data Analysis Tasks. What you'll do here is you'll scroll through this document and find the question that you're answering, which one of Elandria's 10 questions you're answering. And when you find that, you will enter your report in here. Well, you might ask, what should my report look like? What format should it be? What should I be reporting? I'm glad you asked. Our previous document is in the same folder. It is called Elandria's Data Analysis Tasks. And in here you'll see what we provided to Elandria the last time we undertook this task. Now you'll see as you scroll through this that each of the reports under the different questions are a little bit different. And that's because we really didn't have much guidance to go by when we undertook this analysis task. Laura and I discussed this with Elandria, and she agreed that the best formats to reference in the previous report are under the question number 2 and number 3 and number 4. So question number 2, we have a statement in answer to the question, which is drawn from contents within the sticky notes and headlines. We have a note that there were 32 mentions of music, and below that are some example sticky notes. Below that came spiritual growth and development with about 20 mentions, and again a statement and some sample sticky notes. Now Elandria pointed out that this one here, D, was too broad. This statement encompasses a whole lot, and what we're looking for is something that's much more targeted down to one particular point. So let's look at number 3. Number 3 had more of a high-level summary, followed by a list of words that fed into that summary and the number of times those words were used. So inspiring, music, ritual, spiritual, and sermons, all related to the Sunday services. So providing meaningful services is an answer to how we make change and how we're best positioned to make change. And below that statement is a list of words and the number of times those words were used. So a focused statement in answer to the question and words that supported that statement. So this content here is what the output of our task will be. You will look at the question you're assigned, go through the data for the key questions that are used to answer that question, and from that data pull out a statement that answers that question and reference some number of words and how often they were used to support the fact that this statement is important to the congregation. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it's helpful. Just to summarize, you will be talking to your partner about how you're going to proceed, whether you're going to meet in person and do this together, or do it separately and then come together and talk about it, or talk over the phone, video conference, however you want to work together. And then you will look at the tab for the question that you are assigned, and using the tool in the ways that I've outlined, process this information to try to distill it down to 3 to 5 statements in a format similar to this. And you'll put those statements into this data analysis tasks file. So you'll enter it under the question that you're working on. When you've completed that and you've agreed together that you're happy with what you've come up with, put a yes in this column in the first tab of the spreadsheet, and we'll know that that is complete. The goal is by Sunday next, what is that, 14th, 16th, 15th? Sunday the 15th, that we'll have all yeses in these columns. Thanks so much for being part of this project. And one more point. We've discussed a number of times that we want to avoid imparting our own bias into this report. And that's true. At the same time, it's true that you are on this team because of your perspective, your experience, your point of view. And so don't feel shy about putting some discernment and some of your own perspective into these answers, into determining what is important. Everything, of course, needs to be supported by what people have said in these on their sticky notes. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice in this and that your discernment is not important. It is. So just keep that in mind and have fun. Bye-bye.